Time now for business with Kate Moody. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Anna.
The Suez Canal remains blocked by a grounded ship.
Yeah, and it's sending ripples really across the globe. The MV Ever Given is one of the biggest container ships in the world. It ran aground in the Suez Canal early on Tuesday morning after strong winds and a dust storm blew it off course. Tugboats are still trying to free it. The temporary closure of the route has caused delays to dozens of vessels, as Selena Sykes explains.
A 220,000-ton, 400-metre-long container ship stuck in the Suez Canal. Huge traffic jams piled up on the key trade route in Egypt after the vessel Ever Given ran aground early Tuesday morning. With the canal seeing around 10% of the world's trade run through its waters, any delay could have a major impact on supplies.
Every day the canal is closed, number one, it means that Egypt isn't getting toll money for this. It's about $700,000 for every vessel to go through. But more importantly, container ships, tankers are not delivering food, fuel, manufactured goods to Europe, and goods are not being exported from Europe to the Far East.
The ship's operator said its vessel got stuck in the southern end of the canal after it was blown off course by a gust of wind. The so-called megaship was on its way from China to Rotterdam in the Netherlands. The Suez Canal authorities said on Wednesday that the container ship has been partially refloated and that traffic is set to resume. After being blocked for more than 24 hours, it will take a while to completely ease the canal's backlog, adding more pressure to an industry already under strain amid the ongoing pandemic.
That blockage has sparked concerns about shipments of crude oil, and oil prices have risen sharply in response. The international benchmark Brent crude trading at $64.25 per barrel, up over 5.5% this hour. US WTI at about $61. We saw a mixed, fairly muted close for the major European indices earlier on, this despite new data showing an unexpected jump in business activity in the Eurozone for the month of March. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones has mostly made up for yesterday's losses. It's up about 200 points this hour. Higher oil prices have boosted energy stocks. The tech-heavy Nasdaq, meanwhile, dragging behind. It's down 1.3% this hour. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says Washington could impose sanctions on companies that are involved in the Nord Stream 2 natural gas line. While visiting Brussels, he reaffirmed the Biden administration's opposition to that pipeline, which would ship natural gas from Russia to Germany. Some companies have already left the project to avoid any potential sanctions. Germany, though, continues to push for its completion. The U.S. and some Eastern European countries worry that Nord Stream would increase European dependence on Moscow. Well, Blinken also vowed to continue working with European allies on combating China. On Monday, the US, EU, UK, and Canada froze assets and imposed travel bans on a group of Chinese officials over alleged human rights abuses in Xinjiang province. Beijing has retaliated with sanctions of its own, but that could now derail a lucrative investment deal which it struck with the EU last year. Claire Rush reports.
During his first official trip to Brussels, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken pushed ahead with the key goal of the Biden administration, forming a united front against China on issues ranging from human rights to trade.
The onus is really going to be on China to demonstrate that the pledges it's made on forced labor, on state-owned enterprises, on subsidies are not just talk.
Blinken says the U.S. won't force allies into an us or them choice with China. But the EU's decision to impose sanctions on Chinese officials in a coordinated move with the U.S., UK, and Canada is already affecting its ties with Beijing, especially regarding the Comprehensive Agreement on Investment, or CAI. Approved in December, the pact would allow European companies greater access to Chinese markets, particularly in manufacturing, which makes up more than half of EU investment there. EU firms would gain increased access to sectors including electric cars and telecoms. Some Chinese laws discriminating against foreign investors would be eased. Forced technology transfers would be banned, and some requirements that companies operate as part of joint ventures with Chinese partners would be lifted. In exchange, Beijing would have increased access to EU markets in manufacturing and renewable energy. The deal, however, is now under threat. The European Parliament now saying it may not ratify it, as diplomatic ties take a turn for the worse.
Much more than just a diplomatic spat, this one.
Indeed, thank you so much, Kate.